Hi there. So today I'm going to give you the introduction to my book called Seeking Another Way. So this is a tentative title, but basically what it is it's the story of my cancer journey. So last year when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I decided right away that I wanted to start writing out my story. And so a lot of people say that you shouldn't share your wounds, but you should share your scars. And so now that time has passed, I'm ready to start releasing parts of this. And so I was working with my friend Amy, who's my editor, and she was looking through all these journal entries that I'd written, and she said, you really need an introduction. And so we dig into my past. I'm actually a second-time cancer survivor, and so how did that first diagnosis shape what I did in my second diagnosis? And so today that's what I'm going to read is this little snippet, this introduction to my book called Seeking Another Way. Hi, my name is Deandra. I am 34. I live in Wisconsin with my husband. This is a story about life, love, and living every day to the fullest. Some might say that I'm young, and some might say that I'm old. It's all about perspective. Children refer to me as Auntie Andra, while my parents refer to me as our little girl. But I'm more than that. I'm an individual, and it took a health crisis to find that. Let's be more specific. Not just one health crisis, but two. And the following entries are about the second crisis. Although, if I were to start from January 2022, I'd be missing a part of the story. So where should we really start? Some say that I'm an old soul. Even when I was young, I was not quite the same as other children. That I think with logic. And maybe this is why I found a passion for science. The scientific method tells you what's real. You start with a hypothesis, then you design your experiment, you execute it, and you get the results. And with these results, you make your interpretations, and your hypothesis is either supported or refuted. But life doesn't work like that. Sometimes the logic and data aren't enough, and our emotions are what makes us who we are. When I was young, in middle school, I lost my aunt to breast cancer. And at that point, I knew that I loved math and science, but I really wanted to make a difference, and I didn't want anyone else to lose a family member like that so young. And so this sent me down the path of becoming a cancer researcher. My first health crisis came at an unexpected time. It was in 2012. I was in a master's program and following my dreams while buckling down in a fast-paced program at a local university. In my last year of coursework, I finally got health insurance. Now, this was before the government extended the health care to cover on your parents' insurance till age 26. And for a while, I was on my own. But with this newfound insurance, I decided to do all the things I'd been putting off for years. The annual doctor's appointments, the typical blood work. I thought that was all there was going to be, but boy was I wrong. I had some bumps on my neck, and my primary care immediately referred me to another doctor when I saw her. Sitting in the new doctor's office, I looked down at their card, and I read it, and it said head and neck oncologist. I thought to myself, how can this be true? How can this be an oncologist? But I'm only 23. They must have gotten this wrong. They wanted to do an endoscopy, which is where they stick a tube down your throat with a camera to look at everything, and I agreed. The results showed that I needed a biopsy, but not just one biopsy, not just one needle in one spot, but multiple all over my neck. They took samples of my thyroid and of multiple lymph nodes. And in a matter of 1 month, my life changed forever. I was diagnosed with stage 1 papillary thyroid cancer. But that's a good cancer to have. We have a cure for that, they said. So what does that entail? Oh, a little bit of surgery, followed by some radiation, and then medication for the rest of your life. Well, doesn't that sound great? So I did all that I could do, and I did it all in my summer break. And then I said, you know what? I'm not taking much more time off, and I'm getting back to it in the fall. I didn't get any second opinions. probably because I was so into my studies and my research, and I just wanted to get it over with and get back to my normal life. I asked the doctors, is there anything that I need to do differently, like in my life? And all they said was a low sodium diet. This is because sodium can cause swelling at the surgical site. Also, I needed to undergo the radioactive iodine, and so you have to deprive your thyroid and the region of iodine so that when you do take that dose, it absorbs it and it destroys any remaining thyroid cells. The other part of low sodium is that iodine is absorbed by the thyroid, and I no longer had a thyroid, so you don't really need much iodine, or so I thought at the time. So it made sense. I'm pretty sure that they just gave me this pamphlet that said something about fruits and vegetables, but it didn't really say much. It was just like, you should eat more. And it didn't say anything about cancer specifically. It was more just like, be healthier, eat more. It was in there. It wasn't enough for me to make any changes then. So after a 5-hour surgery, they removed my whole thyroid and 40 lymph nodes. I had a lot of work to do to recover. And so I did have this choice at this time. They did say before the surgery, you could have half of your thyroid out and then maybe need to do surgery again. Or you could have your whole thing out and then you can get this radioactive iodine. So it seemed like, yes, I want to get all the treatment that I can get. And so I went for the full surgery. So after this surgery, I didn't have any strength in my shoulder. The surgeon bragged, we kept everything. But the cost was that they had moved around all my muscles and tendons to scoop out all those lymph nodes. And in a period of 5 hours, my body was changed forever. I woke up to a long course of recovery and physical therapy that laid ahead of me. My physical therapist helped me to gain the strength, not just physically, but also emotionally. She listened to my struggles, and when I felt weak and said I couldn't do this, she would tell me, but you can do it. To which I'd ask, can you do it? And her answer would always be, no, I don't have to, because this is my job, and you're the one that has to do it. I always look back and chuckle at this. She was honest, blatantly honest. And I was the patient, and I was the one that needed to get stronger, not her. Radiation, it was a one-time deal. I went into the office. The nurse pulled out a single pill. She was wearing this crazy hazmat suit. And then as soon as she pulled it out of the container, the Geiger counter went off the charts. Beep, 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 beep. She gave me just a small glass of water and then the pill in this plastic shot glass. I took it and I was on my way. Of course, before all this, I had to sign a waiver that I wouldn't get pregnant for 6 months because radiation could be harmful to an unborn baby. But at 23, this was no big deal. I did have to be isolated for 2 weeks because the radiation was coming out of my pores. And I joked, when do I get my superpowers? I mean, I just had a massive dose of radiation. So shouldn't I be like Spider-Man or something? Well, I'm still waiting on that a decade later, unfortunately. But I think if radiation did give me one thing, one superpower, it was perspective. To know that life is not guaranteed and that all we have is today. As soon as I recovered physically from the surgery and the radiation, it was full speed ahead. To graduation, to finding a job, to moving on with life. I didn't really process the emotional things. I just wanted to move on. I didn't want to be a cancer survivor. I just wanted to be normal. I took what I learned and I wanted to help others. For many years, I wore the purple cancer survivor shirt proudly and led my teams in the Relay for Life walks. I did it for a decade in total, some before cancer, some after cancer. And I was raising money and walking to help these cancer patients and myself and to help cancer research. And I thought this was enough. I even worked my way up in the field. I was able to work on cancer diagnostics. I got my scientist title. I was hitting new heights in my career. But then I realized that what I was working on was late-stage cancer diagnostics and treatments that would only extend life a few months. My scientist job was high stress. I stopped taking care of myself. I spent way too much time on the road commuting. But it was for the greater good, right? This was not enough. I wanted to work in prevention. I wanted to stop the pain for people before it was too late. And so I pursued yet another degree. This time, a PhD. And I was between cancer research and nutritional sciences. I worked there as long as I could. And then a few months later, I got an offer. Actually, 2 offers to start a PhD. I had already learned that nutrition could help many diseases and that it could potentially prevent some cancers. So I accepted the nutrition program, thinking that this will be the way that I can really make an impact. Come August of 2019, I moved to Wisconsin from Maryland with my fiance to start the program. Living away from family wasn't easy. One of my family members had these health struggles and was dealing with a cancer of their own. And this happened in the summer of 2021. And my husband and I found ourselves on the road every month, driving 800 miles across the country to do all that we could to help. By December, things had settled down, their health was looking up, and we planned a trip of a lifetime together in Italy. We no longer worried that each time we left could have been our last time together. And as I did a decade ago, I started to take care of my health again. However, the last thing that I expected is what are in my other journal entries. Another health crisis, another diagnosis, and the need to stand up for myself as if my life depended on it, because it did. Thank you for listening. I do hope to share more of these segments of my book in future videos. Comment, like, share, subscribe. If you've had cancer or had a loved one with cancer, I hope that you tune in for more of these videos. And for something more lighthearted, I do like to have fun on this channel. I've done the Nutrition Minute, where I give you healthy recipes that I put to a fun song, and they're in 1 or 2 minutes. And then I also answer health or nutrition related questions in the same 1 to 2 minutes, because I know your time is valuable. So go ahead and check those out for something a little bit more lighthearted. But I hope that you enjoyed listening to my story.